Yeah.
Number 7.
Number 7. Can I look over your shoulder just to see that? Actually, look to your side. 7?
Yeah.
That's okay. I can read it. Okay. Problem number 7. This is one where we have the x squared term. We don't have the middle term. And then we have the last term. So this would be a good one that we want to plug the 0x in. Okay. Now someone asked, hey Sebastian, will you put your phone away from me, please? Thanks, bro. Someone asked, should it be a positive or a negative 0? It doesn't really matter because 0 is signless. It's not positive or negative. Okay. So I'm going to multiply these together. So I get negative 49. I know I have alternating signs. So what can you guarantee about the two numbers if one's positive, one's negative to get 0 in the middle? Yeah, so I get a positive 7, negative 7. So positive 7x, negative 7x. So plug those in. X squared plus 7x minus 7x minus 49. Factor them like we've been doing. X comes out on both. A negative comes out. Looks like a negative 7 comes out. That changes both signs. This part right here is where I know a lot of you start getting hung up. Okay? I'm factoring a negative out. So it changes both those signs. There's a lot of times I'm helping you. You get the negative 7, but you write it as x minus 7, and it's not working out for you. So be cautious about that. So that means that x plus 7 and x minus 7 are the factored versions. I'm going to set both equal to 0 and solve both. So subtract 7 from both sides, so I get this answer. Add 7 to both sides, so I get this answer. What else could I help you with on the homework, my friends? 19?
Yeah.
Can I see your 19, please?
Oh, wait, sir.
Yeah.
I didn't do it like that.
You got the answers?
Yeah.
Sweet. You said you had it done. I thought you said you didn't have it done. Hang on, though. 19. X squared equals 30. Is that the right one?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. It's not equal to 0 as it sits. Agree? Okay. So I need to get everything on one side. I want 0 to be on one of the other side, on one of the sides. I'd say put 0 on the right side because you don't really want your x squared term to be 0. So don't move that over. Can you put that in your bag, please? Thank you. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. Hey, friends, is x squared and x, are those like terms, or does one have a different exponent? Yeah, so I can't do that, but then I can also subtract 30 from both sides. Those are going to cancel, so that's going to give me 0 on the right side, and then I'm going to get x squared minus x, and that's minus 1x, right? Minus 30. Agree with the math so far?
Yeah.
So I can multiply this, first times last, so I get negative 30. Okay? Means I should have a positive and negative component. All right, so I could list 1 and 30, but I'm trying to get to negative 1, so that's clearly not going to work. 2 times 15 gives me 30. That's not going to give me negative 1. 3 times 10 gives me 31 multiplied. That's not going to give me negative 1 when I add them. 5 and 6, perfect. Which one's negative? The 6 is definitely negative, so I have plus 5x minus 6x. So this right here is what we're going to plug in place of here. Okay? It doesn't matter the order I plug them in as long as the signs that I've assigned to them go with it. So I'm going to get x squared plus 5x minus 6x minus 30. So what do I have in common there? X, good. And that leaves me x plus 5. Excuse me. Just promise it's not COVID. What can I factor out of both of those? Yeah, there you go. If I factor a negative 6 out of negative 6x, I'm left with x. If I factor a negative, plus 5. Very good. Okay, those are the same. So x plus 5, x minus 6. Those will be set equal to 0. So take each one. Whoops. Come on down. Subtract 5. There's one answer. Add 6. There's my other answer. Yo, Eddie.
Can you do number 9?
Can I see your number 9? Just because I was closest to you, not because you were doing anything wrong. Number, is that one? Okay, number 9. Number 9, we don't have the m term, right? So I'm going to put a 0m in there. Agree? So I'm going to multiply that. So I know I'm going to get 1 positive, 1 negative. In order to get that 0, what do you know about the two signs? Or the two numbers? The what? They're the same. So what times what gives me 64? 8 and 8. Okay, you don't have to list any of the others. Just use a little critical thinking to realize, hey, how do I get that 0? I have to have a positive or negative of the same number to make that happen. So I get a plus 8, minus 8. They're both x's. So then, oops, they're not x's. They're m's, aren't they? So I get m squared plus 8m minus 8m minus 64. And again, you could have plugged them either order as long as your signs are correct. What can I factor out of the first two? M. And then if I factor m out of m squared, I'm left with m. Factor m out of 8m, I'm left with 8. Negative sign comes down. What can I factor out of both of those? What did I do? So the factored version is this. Set them equal to 0 because that's what we were equal to in the first place. So I get m plus 8 equals 0. M minus 8 equals 0. So m is equal to negative 8. And m is equal to positive 8. Any others I could help you with on the homework? 5? Would you read me what number 5 says?
C squared plus C, 6e plus 5.
Like that?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so it's equal to 0. Good. Put a 1 out front. 5 times 1 is positive 5. Are both signs positive or both signs negative? They're both positive, right? They're both positive because these are both positive here. Okay, so 1 times 5 is the only way that I'm going to multiply two whole numbers together to get 5. Is 1 plus 5 equal to 6? Yep, so 1x, positive 1x, positive 5x. This is what I'm going to plug in here. Bless you. Oh, and they should have been C's. I'm sorry. Changing letters on me, goofing me up. I have a C in common here, so I can factor in at C plus 1. Plus sign comes through. I have a 5 in common here, so I get C plus 1. So that's going to factor to C plus 1 and C plus 5. Or set those each equal to 0. So C equals negative 1, C equals negative 5. Done.
Yeah. That was arguably the easiest question on this paper.
Okay, cool. But sometimes, the 5 and 1 are like the last number times the first. If those are the only two factors, sometimes you forget about it because it's like it's the easiest, but it's one of those that you just kind of forget. So, anything else? Yeah. Oh, so I did C plus 1 equals 0, minus 1, minus 1. And then C plus 5 equals 0, minus 5, minus 5. Is that okay? Anything else you'd like to see? Yeah. 8. Could you read me what number 8 says, please?
Yeah. C squared minus 4 equals 0.
What does it say? I'm sorry.
C squared
Z squared
minus 4 equals 0.
minus 4 equals 0. Okay. All right. So we're missing the individual Z term. We have the squared term and we have the number. So I'm going to plug the 0 in. Is that okay? going to multiply the first and the last. There's one out front, so I get a negative 4. So I have to have one of each. Because I have a 0 here, I know that my two numbers have to be the same. So I'm going to have a positive 2z and a negative 2z. Those would cancel each other out if we did that, but that's where I'm going to plug in for the 0z. I have a z in common here. Factor that out. I have a negative that comes out, a negative 2. So I'm going to get z plus 2 and z minus 2 equals 0. So that'll give me z plus 2 equals 0. Subtract 2. Z minus 2 equals 0. Add 2. So there's my two answers, negative 2 and positive 2. Anything else? Yeah. 4? Could you read what number 4 says, please?
X squared minus 12x plus 35 equals 0.
You said x squared what?
R squared minus 12r plus 35 equals 0.
Minus 12r, I'm sorry.
Plus 35 equals 0.
Like that? Took a little doing, but we got it. Okay. So it's equal to 0, so we can factor. I'll put a 1 out front, so I get a positive 35. In order to get a positive number, the signs have to be the same. Are they both positive or are they both negative? They're both negative, because negative times negative is positive. That gives me that. Negative plus negative gives me that. So I know that 35 is 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. Which of those, both being negative, would add up to negative 12? 5 and 7. So negative 5r and positive, or negative 7r. If I combine those together, I get that negative 12r. So that's going to replace that. So I get r squared minus 5r. And again, I could have put these in either order. It's not going to matter. Okay, I have an r in common there, r minus 5. Put a negative down. A 7 factors out. R minus 5. Agree? So I get R minus 5 and R minus 7. Those are both equal to 0. You okay back there? So R is equal to 5. And R is equal to 7. 12? Yeah. Could you read me number 12, please?
S minus S equals 0.
Like that? Cool. Okay, this one looks a little different. There's two terms. They both happen to have an S. So I have a greatest common factor between these. I could factor an S out, and I'm going to be left with S minus 1. So this is going to be equal to 0. That's one answer. And S minus 1 equals 0, so add 1 to both sides. There's my two answers. And the reason I don't plug in a 0s on that is I have the s term. So it's when I have the squared term and a number that will put the 0 in there. If I have the squared term and a letter, if I have the letter listed twice, then we do greatest common factor. Anything else, my friends? Yo, Eddie. 16. Could you read me number 16, please?
5x squared
5x squared
plus 11x
plus 11x plus 2. Okay, did I write it correctly? All right, so I'm going to multiply first and last together, so I'm going to get positive 10. Both signs are going to be positive because I don't see any negatives up there at all. So 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. Which of those two would add to 11? 1 and 10. So I'm going to have a 1x plus a 10x. So I'm going to plug that in here. Whatever order I want, just make sure you bring the signs with it. So I can factor an x out here. That gives me 5x plus 1. Plus sign comes down. Looks like I can factor a 2 out. That's going to give me 5x plus 1. So my factored version is 5x plus 1 and x plus 2. Those are going to be equal to 0. Thanks for asking about this one because this one requires it's a two-step equation. All right, minus 1, so I get 5x equals negative 1. Divide by 5, divide by 5. So x equals negative 1/5. And then minus 2, x equals negative 2. There's my two answers. We good? So my friends, this is our agenda for this week. Looks like I will have a review sheet that I'll give you tomorrow. We have a review that's in the book as well, so we're going to take care of that. We have a review sheet we'll do tomorrow, Wednesday, unless Wednesday's a snow day. Then the test will move to Thursday. So Thursday, it's a test. It's a front and back. It's not like a huge test. It's just a front side and back side, which is nice. And then we start getting into graphing quadratic functions. So we're going to start graphing these. And they offer all kinds of ways to do it. And we have hopefully some notions. So some of you owe me tests or quizzes. You got to make sure we're taking care of that, please. Okay, because right now there's a 0 in place of where it's at, so it's not indicative of what you know. It's indicative that you missed something, and that's kind of cruddy. So let's get that made up. And then, do any of you have because you all register this week?
Yeah.
Does anyone have a sheet I still need to sign off on? If you do, I'll sign off on it. Just let me know. Come see me up here if I need to sign off. Let me get the assignment for you. Please, please, please take this time to work. Yeah. All right. So I would like you to work on page 73, 74. Let me see if there's any we can skip. So we have some like terms. We have greatest common factor. Cool. So let's have us do all of them. I'm giving you a great deal of time right now to work on them. So page 73, 74. If you need me to sign off on your sheets, bring them on up. I'll take care of it. I don't